What's up, and welcome to the No Bullshit Manifestation Show. I'm your host, Kat Kozad, manifestation expert, money mindset and fulfillment coach, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur. Come sit with me while I spill the real tea on what it's like to practice using intentional manifestation, demystify all of the woo-woo and confusing bullshit that comes along with creating the life of your dreams, and give you a realistic view of what it's like to be on a personal, spiritual, and professional growth journey. The goal of this podcast is to support and guide you towards manifesting all of your dreams, shed light on the things that people are too scared to talk about, and encourage you to become the person who gets to have it all, be it all, and do it all. I am so happy you are here. Let's fucking do this thing. What's up, loves? Welcome back to another episode of the No Bullshit Manifestation Show. I wanted to record today's podcast episode for all of you because one of the number one things that I hear from the women that I work with when they first come on board is that the fact that they have a hard time manifesting, quote unquote, the big things into their lives. And what I mean by the big things is like money, the house, the car, the partner, all of those different things that they are wanting to manifest into their lives. And you're probably wanting to manifest into your life as well. Whereas when it comes to manifesting a coffee or $20 or a parking space or whatever it may be, it feels really easy to manifest those things, but not some of the other things that you are wanting in your life. So that is what I want to talk about on today's podcast episode to help you really break down why you are not manifesting the quote unquote big things into your life and create the shift so that you can start to manifest whatever it is that you desire into your life. So when it comes to manifesting, quote unquote, the big things into your life, and notice that I keep on saying quote unquote because labeling something as big is the first issue that comes into play when manifesting, quote unquote, the big things into your life. You labeling them as big is making you feel like there is time and space between you, where you're at right now, and where you have to be to receive whatever it is that you're wanting to manifest into your life. So essentially, anytime we label something as big, hard, challenging, whatever it may be, our subconscious mind is naturally going to have resistance to that because it is going to understand that there is a lot of efforting that is going to come into play for you to manifest that thing into your physical reality. And our subconscious mind and our ego's number one job is to protect us from discomfort. Because this literally goes back to when we were cavemen. Because when we were cavemen, any sort of discomfort was a sign of potential danger. Literally like a saber-toothed tiger or something that's hiding out in the bushes that could be threatening. And therefore, our brains and our bodies have this natural defense mechanism inside of them that when discomfort comes up, it is to stop you or keep you in whatever sort of pattern it has to keep you safe. And this is something that we would love to think that we've evolved from, but we haven't, because although technology has advanced, although we've created completely different lives for ourselves than when we were cavemen, the reality is that this primal part of yourself still exists inside of you. So when you're labeling something as big, hard, challenging, whatever it may be, then you are naturally going to have this defense mechanism kick in, which is then going to make you more resistant to believing that you can have it, taking the actions, aligning with the behaviors, whatever it may be, to make that a part of your reality. And what you're essentially doing is when you are saying that there's this big manifestation, this big thing that you want in your life, you're putting that thing on the pedestal. And this is something that people also do with other people in their lives. They'll compare themselves to other people and put people on a pedestal of like, oh, wow, like it would be awesome to be her. I wish I could have her life. I want what she has, but she's up here on this pedestal, whereas I'm down here. And again, what this does is you're essentially creating time and space between where you're at right now and where you would have to be and who you would have to be in order to receive that thing. When you make it a quote unquote big deal, then subconsciously you are naturally going to put up so much resistance to having this thing in your life, as opposed to recognizing that like every single thing that you desire in your life exists. It is here, it is available right here, right now. And when you are actively, again, putting the label of big or looking at it and being like, oh, wow, like I don't know when I'll be able to have that, or it's going to be ages until I'm able to have that, then you are the one who is deciding that there is time and space between you and where you're at right now and receiving that thing. And when you can release the fact that there's time and space between it, because like I said, everything exists here and now, then you start to shorten the distance and the time between you and receiving that thing. So an example of this in my own life is when I started manifesting $20,000 months in my business. And this was something that I made such a big deal for such a long time. I created so much resistance and so much energy around having $20,000 months that it took me a damn long time inside of my business to be able to get to the place where I was consistently making $20,000 a month. And when I was doing it, I truly was putting myself in the position of like thinking it was going to be hard work and putting $20,000 months up on the pedestal. And because I put it up on that pedestal, it was like I was looking up at it, but it felt as though there was so much I had to do and so many action steps I had to take in order to climb up to the position where I could be on top of that pedestal with it. And ultimately, like I've been saying, like created so much resistance towards having $20,000 months because it felt as though that it was something that was really hard. It felt like there was a ton of time and space between where I was and being able to receive that. But the reality of it was when I was able to not make it a big deal and get into the energy and the mindset and the embodiment of the version of myself who was just like, duh, like, of course I have $20,000 months. Like, of course I have 20,000 and beyond that. Then that's when more and more money started to flow into my life and into my business because I was no longer making it this big thing. I was normalizing it and I was making it a kind of like, duh, like, of course, like almost like a sassy thing of like, of course I get to have this. Of course this gets to be my reality. Like, duh, why would it be anything other than that? Because when we start to normalize something in our lives, then it gets to be easy. The things that you know with absolute certainty, the things that feel normal in your life, the things that are just natural and consistent, you don't make them a big deal. So let's say like you have been with your dream partner and you are just in such an incredible loving relationship with them, and you have a friend who has had the hardest time with finding a great relationship, being with someone that they really vibe with, and they come to you for relationship advice. For you, it's probably like duh, like of course guys like that exist. Of course partners like that exist. Of course that kind of person is out there because it's so normal for you to have the dream person. It's so normal for you to be in the position that you get what you want, so therefore it doesn't feel like a big deal. As opposed for someone who has consistently been through shitty relationships, they make it a big deal because they have more evidence that proves otherwise. So really stepping into the energy of that person that just gets to be like, duh, like, of course the dream person's out there. Of course it gets to be incredible. Of course it gets to be this great way. Like, tying into this, when you're trying to manifest your dream person, specifically like a dream man, so much of the content, so much of the media these days, so much of like the conversations that we run into are talking about how all men are trash, how there's no good men left, like all of these different things. And if you believe that, then manifesting the dream man who is everything that you want is going to probably feel like a quote unquote big thing. When in reality, it's like, if you can normalize the fact that most men are damn good men and that there is an abundance of men that would be perfect for you and who are wanting a relationship and who want to date you and give you the life that you want, then like dating that man becomes normal. That becomes easy. It's not a big thing. It's just another thing. It's just being able to go out there and put yourself out there and know and trust in the fact that that man is in alignment with what you desire for yourself. But when you put that man on the pedestal, then it's going to feel really fucking hard to manifest that kind of partner into your life. Same example of this with like a job. Let's say that your dream job, you're putting it on the pedestal. Let's say you're a business owner. You're wanting to have the business of your dreams. And you put that on a pedestal and you continue to stay in the position of this job that you hate and continue to reaffirm all of the things that you hate about it on a daily basis and how hard that work is and all of the different things, then having that dream business is going to feel like a really big thing. It's going to feel really fucking hard, as opposed to allowing yourself to get into the energy of knowing that, like, of course, because I have this desire for the business, then that means I'm capable of manifesting it. And knowing that, like, who would I be as the version of myself who already knows that I have a successful business, who already knows that I get to own and run this big, beautiful business on a daily basis? Because that version of yourself wouldn't think it's a big deal. They would just know that it's normal. Of course you get to have the dream business. Of course it gets to be successful. Of course there's clientele that consistently wants your services or product or whatever it may be. Of fucking course that gets to happen. So I want you to ask yourself, like, do you see that shift? Do you feel that shift from, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if I can have this thing. It feels so big. Like, what do I have to do? What are the steps? Like, how can I get myself to the place where I can manifest this big thing into my life? Versus, duh, like, of course I get to have it. Of course it's normal. Like, it's just a part of my reality. Because when you can identify and recognize that shift inside of yourself, it becomes so much easier for you to then reflect back to yourself. Where in your life are you putting things on the pedestal? Where in your life are you making your manifestation these big things that have so much time and space between where you're at right now and where you would have to be in order to receive it? Because, like I've been saying, all of those things exist. They're here, they've already manifested, and they're available to you. But when you subconsciously or even consciously hold in your mind that there has to be so much that takes place between where you're at right now and where you have to be to receive it, then you're going to continually block yourself from actually having that in your life. And the more that you can normalize you having that thing, then the easier it will be for you to manifest it into your life. They are not big things. They are just things. They do not have to be big. You are the one who's putting that label, putting that definition, that meaning on them, when in reality, it truly gets to be fucking easy. You are the powerful creator of your reality. You get to choose whether things are going to be hard or not. You get to choose whether something's big or not. You get to choose. Everything in life is a choice. And when you are choosing that things are big, things are going to be hard, things are going to have to take time, they're going to be X, Y, and Z, then you are essentially choosing your limitations instead of choosing what you want for yourself. So when you can refocus on the fact that these things aren't big, they are just things. They are things that you are divinely worthy of because you have the inspiration to manifest them into your life, then that takes away so much of the pressure and so much of the resistance that you've been holding onto surrounding these things, which then ultimately can lead you to the inspiration that you get to take in order to receive them, or leads you to the opportunity that presents it to you, or leaves you in the space that manifestation can actually show up. But when we are constantly focusing on like, oh my God, like this big thing, like, ugh, don't know how it's going to happen, that doesn't leave you with the energy or the space in order for you to actually start to receive either the inspiration, the opportunity, or the space for it to manifest. It doesn't leave you in the position that it's easy for that thing to manifest into your life. So really refocusing the energy on the fact of like, okay, who would I be as the version of myself who already had it? Who would I be if this was normal for me? So let's say it's the money. Let's say that you want to be in the position that you are completely financially free. If you were the version of yourself who is completely financially free, how would you show up on a daily basis? What would you know to be true about yourself? What would you know to be true about money? What would you know to be true about the way that you operate on a day-to-day basis, how you feel, the thoughts that you think, the beliefs that you have, the emotions, all of it? How would that be different than who you are and what you're embodying today? That version of you who's already completely financially free, she wouldn't make a big deal of, oh my God, like it happened and it's here and all of the things. It would just feel normal. It would just be like, oh yeah, duh, like of course I did it. And this gets to be my reality. And this is the beauty of it. As opposed to being in the position where you don't currently have that financial freedom and you're like, oh fuck, it's going to take years. I don't know if I'm ever going to get there. I'm a slave to my debt. I'm a slave to this, blah, blah, blah. It may not be that extreme, but just giving like the example of it. Like that keeps you in the energy of stagnancy. That keeps you in the energy of lack. That keeps you in the position where you believe that you can only manifest the quote unquote small things into your life. When you can make the shift into this gets to be normal for me, this is just truly who I am, this is the way that my life gets to be, then the universe will conspire to meet you in that energy and help you attract and manifest all of the things that you desire into your life. Because it's not big or small, they're just things. They are just things. They are all just energy, and all of that energy, all of those manifestations, they exist here and now. So when you can put yourself into the energy of like, yeah, duh, it's here, it's now, then you minimize that time and space between where you're at and receiving your manifestation. And one more thing that I want to note on this is like, when you're putting all of the focus and attention into like the space between where you're at right now and where you believe you have to be in order to manifest that into your life, then you're going to continue to manifest more and more and more experiences that keep you further away from your manifestation. What we put our energy and focus into is what expands. So when you are focusing on the gap between where you're at and where you want to be, then you are going to manifest more of that gap. You are going to manifest more space when in reality, you're wanting to manifest being at the place that you want to be. So when you can put your focus and attention into, again, normalizing that reality for yourself, duh, of course I get to be there, like, duh, of course that's my reality, then that is what your focus and attention is going to go into, and that is what is going to expand. that is what is going to naturally start to align in your life because of the universal law of attraction. So really checking yourself, like, where are you putting your focus and energy into? What stories are you telling yourself right now that is keeping you in these patterns of the past and keeping you stuck in the position where you feel as though you can only manifest the small things into your life? And removing those labels to really recognize that, like, who's to say what's big and what's small? I actually was thinking about this so much when I was over in the UK, because one of the cultural differences that I was very, very aware of while I was there compared to the US is the mindset and the energy surrounding money from America to the UK. And I know that so many things play into this, and that goes far beyond this podcast episode. But the scarcity mindset, specifically surrounding money in the UK, is so much more prevalent than what I've experienced in the US and specifically New York. And there were many circumstances where I was in conversation with different people and they were talking about specifically like rent and the amount of money that you pay for rent in New York versus London, or that they were paying in wherever they were living versus London, and it being such a big thing. And of course, doing the work that I do and teaching manifestation and money mindset and all of these different things, it was super interesting to be able to look at and hear these different belief systems of like, oh my God, I could never have that. That's too expensive. I can't spend XYZ. All of the different stories, because then of course that's going to be the reality that you manifest into your life if those are your stories. Whereas if you can normalize the fact that like paying whatever amount of money for rent, like, okay, like that's normal, that's fine. Like, example of this, when I was in New York prior to going to visit the UK, I was paying $5,500 a month for a studio apartment. And it's like, to some people that would feel ungodly. That would feel like an extortionate amount of money. To me, that feels normal. To me, that doesn't feel like a big deal. So for me, of course, it's like, if it's not a big deal, then I'm going to attract and manifest that kind of money into my life. Whereas if you make it a big deal, then it's going to create the resistance. It's going to create the time and space between you and actually being able to have that thing. So often in my life, it's like I will intentionally bump up my standard of like, what is the minimum amount of money that I am willing to pay for something so that it becomes less of a big deal for me. When I am in the situation where I'm choosing to invest in something, I always choose to invest greater and greater amounts of money, because the more that I can do that, the more I can normalize spending money in that kind of way. And then because it becomes normal, then that, of course, is going to be what I attract and manifest into my life financially, because it just is part of my reality. Again, it's kind of like this, like, duh, like, of course I'm going to spend however many thousands of dollars on rent. Of course I'm going to spend however many thousands of dollars on coaching. Of course I'm going to spend X amount of money like on my health and my fitness and all of these different things, instead of making it a big thing and being like, oh fuck, like I don't think I can have X, Y, and Z because of money, because of this thing that I'm making a big part of my reality. The more that you can normalize it, the more that it's just going to be like, yeah, duh, of course. And the universe is going to support me to be able to live and have that reality. So all of this to say that if you are having a hard time manifesting the quote unquote big things into your life, check yourself. Why is it big? What stories do you currently have that is making this a big thing? And if you were to remove the bigness around it, if you were to remove the resistance that you had to it, how would it feel? It would just feel fucking normal. So make it normal. Your higher self, that version of you who gets to have the dream life, who gets to have, be, and do every single thing that she wants, It's just normal to her. So starting to cultivate that inside of yourself now, it just gets to be normal. Of course you get to have the money. Of course you get to have the dream business or career. Of course you get to have the dream partner. Of course you get to travel or have the home or whatever it may be that your heart desires. Like a fucking course, you get to have it. That's the energy that you want to be in to manifest these quote unquote big things into your life. So that's what I have for you on this podcast episode. If you know that this podcast episode could help somebody in your life who is wanting to manifest the big things, or if you know that this message is something that people in your life need to hear, please screenshot this podcast episode, share it on your stories, tag me so that I can thank you for listening to the podcast, and spread this word, because honestly, the more people who get to hear this message, the better the world gets to be, because the more we can normalize the fact that life actually gets to go the way that we want it to. We are the powerful creators of our realities, and we get to manifest our big, beautiful, abundant, amazing, fulfilling, incredible lives just because it gets to be normal, because it gets to be easy for us. So again, please share this podcast episode, screenshot it, tag me on Instagram at @katkozad. The link to my Instagram is also down below in the show notes. And if you do, thank you so much, because it means the absolute world to me. And that is all I have for you. So I'm sending you all of my love, and I'll chat with you on the next podcast episode. Oh my gosh, thank you for listening to today's episode. I'm so grateful to have these no bullshit talks with you. If you enjoyed today's episode or the podcast as a whole, please spread the love by leaving me a review on iTunes or sharing the podcast with others. This is how I will be able to spread more of these good vibes and be able to make more of an impact on the lives of others. And if you're not already part of all of the goodness and communities that I have to offer, check out the show notes. I have links to the different ways that I can support you on your manifestation journey and help you live a life full of more money, fulfillment, and freedom. But that is all for now. So big love and hugs, and I will chat with you soon, babe.